AIM-quoted exploration and development company Mariana Resources, which owns gold, silver and copper projects in South America and Turkey, has seen news on a number of fronts, including a recent Phase 2 drilling at Hot Maden in Turkey. Glen Parsons is Chief Executive. He joins us now. Glen, welcome.
Thanks very much, Jeremy.
First of all, as I said, you're exposed on a number of fronts. Give us the investment case, first of all.
I mean, over the last 2 years, Mariana has diversified. We are an explorer. We know our space in terms of delivering projects to development. I mean, or just pre-development. So we took the approach of actually diversifying a portfolio of really strategic assets, and they happen to be a lot of South American assets in various jurisdictions, as well as with the Aegean transaction, where we merged a friendly merger essentially with Aegean beginning of this year. We took on some Turkey assets which originally were fully funded, and Hot Maden, which is the one in northeastern Turkey, essentially that's the one that's driving Mariana's value at the moment.
Well, let's look at that. I mean, we have to say, of course, I think Mariana really started in South America, didn't it?
That's right.
We'll take a look at some of those assets in just a minute, but Turkey, yeah. Update us on this. Phase 2 drilling, exciting news recently. Yes,
exciting news, and this follows on from those really fantastic intercepts that we had, 100 metres at around 9-10 grams gold, and then 82 metres at around 20 grams gold. So really significant results, which included really high copper grades as well. So based on that, our partner, who's earning into 70%, and they have to spend another 1.8 million to earn that 70%, based on those really world-class results, I mean, they truly are world-class in terms of any discoveries around at the moment, is really progressing now. They want to become a producer in Turkey. That's their aim. So they're actually moving ahead quite fast, and they've actually gone straight into a 10,000 metre program, and that's really trying to take those two zones, which are 100 metres apart, those two scissor holes, and really start trying to broaden this into some form of quantifiable deposit, mineable deposit. It is mineable ore, very, very good in terms of metallurgy, these early stage metallurgy, easy to mine. It is no deleterious elements, so that's actually pretty advantageous for processing down the line. So with a good local partner like Lydia, which is a private group in Turkey, we couldn't hope for anything better, and they're moving ahead fast, and they've got an aim of production, which is good.
When they bought into that, they're 70%, they spent all the money. What happens then? Where do you hope to be at that point?
Well, by the time they spent their 70%, which will be this 10,000 metres will have finished, we're probably going to have some form of inferred resource around those discovery holes. We'll probably have a nice quantifiable ore body, and that will really underpin Mariana's value, and that's where we're heading now. It's no longer, for us, it's no longer discovery, just news flow like that. It's actually building on this discovery that we have now. So it really takes, Hot Maden takes Mariana to a different level.
Yeah, okay. Let's quickly go on to South America. As I said, sure. That really was the reason to be there. Mariana Resources was based there. What's going on there at the moment? What's the exciting development news?
Well, in our roots were Argentina, really. That's where we developed a resource. We have a reasonably advanced asset there. It's a low-grade deposit. But Argentina is quite an interest. We're in a gold-silver province down in Santa Cruz, which is down southern Argentina. And unfortunately, with the political situation, there was a big downturn, and that forced us to actually go and diversify. And thankfully, that's the right approach, because it's obviously yielding fruits. But we have never neglected Argentina. We've been doing, over the last 2 years, we've been doing some really low-cost exploration work, trying to identify high grade. And high grade is the key going forward, I think, for any exploration, really, any explorer, any junior. And we think that we're actually well poised there now. We've just finished, and because of this, we actually started a drill campaign this year, and that's the exciting thing. We focused on our Los Cisnes project, which is a high-grade silver target area, further south from Las Calandrias, and there's some high grade around Las Calandrias, which is where our resource is. So the idea is to elevate our assets, getting ready for a change in election, which is happening. We'll have the primary elections in August, which will be quite telling in terms of how it's going to go forward for the actual majors, the main elections in October. But we do see a change, positive change coming, and I think it's not only us as a junior saying that. I mean, we've got all the majors there. You've got Anglo Gold, you've got Yamana, you've got Goldcorp, you've got Pan American Silver, and McEwen. They're all actually poised for investment, and they're poised for investment into Argentina. They're bringing mines on in Argentina as we speak, but they'll probably ramp it up. So, we think Argentina, yes, it was our roots. It sort of had a bit of a downturn, but if you can be patient, we think we'll have some benefit out of it.
And you're fully funded for that drill campaign?
Well, that's actually finished. So
right,
we've finished that drill campaign. We did 1,500 meters, a small program, but really just testing what we had done on surface. So I was trying to see if these structures actually followed down on surface. So the results, as I say, we finished. We probably over the next month we might see an update on Argentina, which will be quite positive.
And then what?
And then what?
Subject to a good update, of course.
No, well, Argentina, we'll probably only move Argentina forward next year after the elections. We will wait for the elections. I think that's prudent. One has to be prudent. When we raised money in February this year, we raised £1.8 million. We did raise it and tell the market that we would be drilling Soledad, which is in central Peru. And that is an exciting project that we drilled last year. Got some high-grade tourmaline breccia pipes, but it's really an intrusive type. It's a porphyry type target. So you're looking for the bulk mineralization down below, a little bit deeper. But with Turkey, and that'll cost us obviously a little bit more going deeper. Now, the key for Mariana is we've got a project that's actually lifting us to a different level. We've still got our exploration projects, which obviously warrant, and we think they're good projects. And we'll go through one more. But it's a case of the strategy is you've got to let this hot modern, this Turkey asset unfold a little bit, especially with 10,000 meters. We need to be pretty clear in our strategy and the decision making with what happens in Turkey, and we have to be patient with those drill results and actually allow them to show us what we got, and that will then dictate the balance.
Sure. You mentioned elections in Argentina. There's elections in Turkey as well.
That's right. So the 7th of June, I think the main elections again. The current party we'd expect to stay in. That's the general feeling. So we don't expect too much change coming forward. There have been some recent mining law changes, which have been pretty much pro-mining. They're sort of opening up the whole permitting process, defining the royalty processes going forward. So in general, Turkey is a really nice jurisdiction and growing interest in Turkey. So we don't see any fundamental problems coming through in Turkey from our perspective.
Got a couple of questions from clients. Before we get on to those, just one question I've got, and that is you've got a lot of these projects on the go.
Yep.
For a company that's only worth £25 million, how do you deal with all these? I mean, you've got a lot of balls in the air, let's put it that way.
No, we have got a lot of balls, and as I say, our strategy is really managing a portfolio and moving them up the curve to development phase where we get a decision whether we realise or whether we decide to spin out or whatever. So it is a case of managing, and we are a small team, yes, but the stages that the assets are at, we can manage those assets quite easily in terms of just managing a portfolio. At the end of the day, you get your contract team in, they move it forward, and slowly they develop. Obviously, the greater they develop and the more tangible they become, it starts requiring more people, more management skill. So that you start skilling up at a later stage. So that's a development process, and that's timeline. So that we think is under control. The management team that we've got, we've all managed projects, companies. And to build that is not, we don't see that as an issue. We actually think we're pretty lean and have actually managed a portfolio very well and funded a portfolio in a time where not many juniors have actually been able to fund. I mean, Mariana has been very well supported by investors, a lot of liquidity in the share price, and that's given us this ability to fund. So,
well, and among those investors, as I say, a couple of clients on the IG platform come up with some questions. One of them, in fact, a couple of them are around the FX losses that you reported at the last time you reported fully. I think you only report 6 monthly, don't you?
We report 6 monthly.
Why was there such a large loss in the last fiscal year? And as management team, is this something you want to try and address or can address?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, the FX losses that we're seeing, I just must state, they are generally unrealised FX losses because of a restatement of loans, and that's a function of how, and it's really driven by Argentina. And obviously the peso has devalued quite considerably. When we fund Argentina, we'll fund it down in dollars. They convert the dollars into pesos, and they hold the investment down there in pesos. And obviously that peso is devaluing, and on our side it's not. So we have to then actually account for the devaluation, so we write it down essentially. So it's a non-cash flow write-down, if you want to call it, of the investment effectively. But I think the key thing to remember is that, yes, the investment is written down in principal terms, accounting terms, but we're talking about a dollar asset. We're talking about a gold, silver asset, always effectively in dollar terms. Everybody values that in dollar terms. So ultimately, on a sale or a realization or whatever, you're automatically going to crystallize a dollar return, and yes, it doesn't really impact anything from it, and that's a cash flow, you know, really, and all you're going to do is take an account of this devaluation. So we can't really, I mean, you can't. It's very difficult to hedge against the peso, and that would waste money hedging the peso. But ultimately, our hedge is we've got a dollar asset, and that's the best thing to be in.
Yeah. Many of the other questions really centering around Hot Marden. We've spoken about that, what you've got there, what you hope to do. Let's wrap that up in a where you go from here type question, because clearly this has become the main focus. This is your flagship asset, isn't it? For sure. Which you're pushing forward, and it really does underpin, I suppose, Mariana's future. So what do you say to investors? I want to bring up a share price chart, because since the news we've had out from Hot Marden, interesting enough, there has been this pullback in shares for Mariana Resources. We're now at 2.6 pence. What do you say to investors that are holding the stock that have seen this drop after this news that you say is broadly positive?
Well, it is broadly positive, and I think that the message to shareholders is really, you know, as I said before, I mean, Mariana has been building a portfolio where we have a lot of news flow and trying to discover. Here we've got a discovery, and it's now moving to the next level. So when a company is moving to the next level, one has to have a degree of patience, and yes, there's going to be ups and downs. But you know, here we're going to be going into a resource phase now, essentially developing this quantifiable resource, we think. You know, one should really allow that the chance to let it grow before making, you know, a sell-off. I can't actually understand the sell-off, to be honest. It doesn't make any sense to me, especially when we've got 2 drill rigs running at the moment. We've just started drilling. You know, it's still very early days, and it's exciting. You know, we're talking exciting times over a very large area of prospective, the Hot Marden fault zone. So.
What do you see as the catalyst then to spark interest in that share price? What do you hope to report this year which might give some sort of enthusiasm to potential investors?
Well, I think as we report the balance of the holes coming through now, you know, as I say, we've got 2 drill rigs running. We are going to have quite a lot of results coming. Now, it just doesn't make sense to actually do one hole, because it doesn't actually do the deposit any justice. You actually need to, we need to be able to show investors how this thing 3D is actually coming together as a deposit, which then will be a mineable asset, and that will then probably underpin value as we go forward. So I would say, you know, shareholders should actually see these results as a body. We need to actually wait for them, let the batches come through, and then start deciding on whether it's a good asset or a bad asset. You know, that's what I would say, and that would be the driver. Because I think, you know, we're obviously pretty confident with it. I mean, it really is prospective. We just had a site visit as well. You know, last week we were in Turkey, where you had a number of analysts, some shareholders. Sprott was actually there as well. You know, and you know, just seeing on our photos don't actually do it any justice in terms of what it is. It's a big system. It's a complex system, but it has got there's a significant fault zone and a lot of mineralization along it. So. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, Glen, thanks for dropping by to update us on what's happening. It's Glen Parsons. He's the Chief Executive of Mariana Resources.